The underestimated fleet. The vast emptiness of space was shattered by the ominous sight of the Zarkonian invasion fleet. Thousands of sleek, biomechanical ships hung in the inky blackness, their hulls gleaming with an otherworldly iridescence. At the center of this armada loomed the flagship Eternal Dominion, a colossal vessel that dwarfed even the largest human space stations. Aboard the United Earth Defense Forces command ship, Defiant, Admiral Sarah Chen stood rigid, her eyes fixed on the holographic display. The contrast between the two fleets was stark, a sea of alien ships against the pitiful cluster of human vessels. "Status report," Chen barked, her voice carrying a forced calm that belied the tension in her shoulders. Lieutenant Commander Raj Patel's fingers danced across his console. "The Zarkonian fleet outnumbers us 20-1, Admiral. Their energy readings are off the charts. Our shields won't last more than a few minutes under concentrated fire." Chen's jaw tightened. Humanity had known this day was coming. For years, they had intercepted fragments of Zarkonian communications, piecing together the aliens' plans for galactic domination. Earth had prepared as best it could, but the technological gap seemed insurmountable. A communication request flashed on the main screen. Chen nodded, and the image of High Commander Zexlor appeared, his segmented eyes gleaming with smug superiority. "Humans," the alien's voice reverberated through the bridge, a cacophony of clicks and hums translated by the ship's computer. "Your species has been deemed unworthy of continued existence. Surrender now, and we shall grant you a swift extinction. Resist, and we will ensure your suffering echoes through the ages as a warning to all who would oppose the Zarkonian Empire." Chen stepped forward, her voice steady. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. Humanity rejects your offer. We choose to stand and fight." Zexlor's mandibles twitched in what might have been amusement. "So be it. Your bravery is noted, but ultimately futile. Prepare to be eradicated." As the communication cut off, Chen turned to her crew. "This is it, people. Everything we've planned for, everything we've sacrificed. It all comes down to this moment." She keyed the shipwide comm. "To all UEDF personnel, the Zarkonians believe this battle is already won. They see our smaller fleet, our seemingly inferior technology, and they laugh. But they don't know humanity. They don't understand our resilience, our creativity, our sheer stubborn refusal to go quietly into the night." Chen's voice grew stronger, filled with unwavering conviction. "We may be outnumbered, but we are not outmatched. Each of you represents the best of humanity. Our diversity, our adaptability, our indomitable spirit. Today, we fight not just for Earth, but for every species that has fallen to Zarkonian aggression, for every world they've stripped bare in their relentless expansion." On ships throughout the fleet, humans of all backgrounds listened, drawing strength from their admiral's words. "We have surprises in store for our would-be conquerors," Chen continued. "Advances we've kept hidden, strategies they cannot anticipate. But our greatest weapon has always been the human spirit. So stand tall, stay focused, and know that billions of souls on Earth and throughout our colonies are with us in spirit." She paused, her gaze sweeping across the bridge. "It has been the highest honor of my life to serve with each and every one of you. Now let's show these aliens why you should never underestimate humanity." Battle stations. As klaxons blared throughout the fleet, the crew of the Defiant sprang into action with practiced precision. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Yoshiko Tanaka made last-minute adjustments to the experimental drive systems, her hand steadied despite the weight of responsibility. "Propulsion systems at 110% capacity," Admiral Tanaka reported. "The new graviton emitters are online and stable." In the weapons bay, Gunnery Sergeant Marcus Jones double-checked the targeting systems for the recently developed phase-shift torpedoes. "Weapons hot, ma'am. Those buggers won't know what hit 'em." Back on the bridge, Tactical Officer Lieutenant Aisha Okuffer's fingers flew across her console. Defense grid synchronized. Admiral. All ships reporting ready. Chen nodded, a grim smile playing at the corners of her mouth. All right, people. Commence Operation Trojan Horse. Let's remind the galaxy why you should never corner a human. The UEDF fleet began to move, but not in the defensive formation the Zarkonians expected. Instead, the human ships scattered in seemingly random patterns, confusing the alien targeting systems. Aboard the Eternal Dominion, High Commander Zexlor chittered in annoyance. What game are these primitives playing? Obliterate them. The Zarkonian fleet opened fire, a dazzling array of energy beams and plasma bolts streaking across space. But the human ships moved with unexpected agility, many of the shots missing their marks entirely. Now, Chen ordered. Suddenly, the space around the human fleet shimmered. Hundreds of holographic projections of Earth ships blinked into existence, creating a vast, confusing swarm that surrounded the Zarkonian armada. Zexlor's compound eyes widened in shock. Impossible. Their sensor profile. It's as if they're real. The human fleet struck back, their weapons finding gaps in the Zarkonians' now divided attention. Phase shift torpedoes slipped through supposedly impenetrable shields, detonating with terrifying effect. As the battle raged, Chen watched the tactical display intently. The plan was working, but this was just the opening move. The real test was yet to come. Admiral, Raj called out, his voice tight with tension. The Eternal Dominion is moving into firing position. Energy readings are spiking. They're charging their main weapon. Chen's eyes narrowed. This was the moment they had prepared for, the linchpin of their entire strategy. Initiate Phase 2, she commanded, and may whatever gods are out there be with us. As the Zarkonian flagship's weapon reached critical charge, ready to unleash devastation on a scale never before seen in the galaxy, the crew of the Defiant held their breath. Everything hinged on what would happen in the next few seconds. The fate of humanity, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance as two civilizations clashed among the stars, one vast and seemingly unstoppable, the other small but burning with the fierce determination to survive. Little did the Zarkonians know, humanity's greatest surprise was yet to be revealed. The hidden advantage. The Eternal Dominion's main weapon pulsed with an otherworldly energy, ready to unleash destruction on an unimaginable scale. High Commander Zexlor's mandibles clicked in anticipation. Let this be the end of humanity's futile resistance, he chittered. But as the weapon fired, something unprecedented occurred. The beam of devastation, capable of shattering planets, simply vanished. It winked out of existence mere kilometers from the Zarkonian flagship, leaving behind only a ripple in the fabric of space-time. Aboard the Defiant, Admiral Chen allowed herself a small, fierce smile. Status report on the quantum sink. Dr. Ilara Voss, the brilliant physicist behind humanity's secret weapon, looked up from her console, her eyes shining with a mix of excitement and disbelief. It's working, Admiral. The quantum sink is absorbing the energy perfectly. Power levels are rising rapidly. Chen nodded. Excellent. Prepare to redirect. On the Eternal Dominion, chaos reigned. What trickery is this? Zexlor demanded, his normally imposing form quivering with rage and confusion. Where is the devastation? Where are the broken human ships? His subordinates scrambled for answers, their clawed appendages skittering across alien consoles. Unknown, High Commander, one finally responded. The energy simply disappeared. Impossible. Zexlor roared. Fire again. Destroy these insignificant creatures. As the Zarkonians frantically prepared for another blast, the human fleet sprang into action. Ships that had been on the defensive now moved with deadly purpose, their formation tightening around a central point. The Defiant. All ships, execute Maneuver Omega, Chen commanded. Concentrate your fire on the designated coordinates. Let's show them what we can do with their own energy. The UEDF vessels unleashed a barrage of weapons fire. not at the Zarkonian ships, but at a seemingly empty point in space. As the shots converged, a shimmering portal burst into existence, a controlled wormhole, the product of decades of secret human research. Quantum sync at maximum capacity, Dr. Voss reported, her voice tight with concentration. Ready to discharge on your command. Chen's eyes gleamed. Send it through. Let's give the Zarkonians a taste of their own medicine. The Defiant shuddered as an immense wave of energy, the same destructive force the Eternal Dominion had unleashed moments ago, poured from the human flagship into the wormhole. The portal flared brilliantly, then collapsed. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, at the heart of the Zarkonian fleet, a new sun was born. The redirected energy erupted from another wormhole, catching the alien armada completely off guard. Ships nearest to the blast simply ceased to exist, vaporized in an instant. Others were flung aside like toys, their supposedly invincible hulls cracking under the strain. The hidden advantage. The Eternal Dominion's main weapon pulsed with an otherworldly energy, ready to unleash destruction on an unimaginable scale. High Commander Zexlor's mandibles clicked in anticipation. Let this be the end of humanity's futile resistance, he chittered. But as the weapon fired, something unprecedented occurred. The beam of devastation, capable of shattering planets, simply vanished. It winked out of existence mere kilometers from the Zarkonian flagship, leaving behind only a ripple in the fabric of space-time. Aboard the Defiant, Admiral Chen allowed herself a small, fierce smile. Status report on the quantum sync. Dr. Ilara Voss, the brilliant physicist behind humanity's secret weapon, looked up from her console, her eyes shining with a mix of excitement and disbelief. It's working, Admiral. The quantum sync is absorbing the energy perfectly. Power levels are rising rapidly. Chen nodded. Excellent. Prepare to redirect. On the Eternal Dominion, chaos reigned. What trickery is this? Zexlor demanded, his normally imposing form quivering with rage and confusion. Where is the devastation? Where are the broken human ships? His subordinates scrambled for answers, their clawed appendages skittering across alien consoles. Unknown, High Commander, one finally responded. The energy simply disappeared. Impossible. Zexlor roared. Fire again. Destroy these insignificant creatures. As the Zarkonians frantically prepared for another blast, the human fleet sprang into action. Ships that had been on the defensive now moved with deadly purpose, their formation tightening around a central point, the Defiant. All ships, execute Maneuver Omega, Chen commanded. Concentrate your fire on the designated coordinates. Let's show them what we can do with their own energy. The UEDF vessels unleashed a barrage of weapons fire, not at the Zarkonian ships, but at a seemingly empty point in space. As the shots converged, a shimmering portal burst into existence, a controlled wormhole, the product of decades of secret human research. Quantum sync at maximum capacity, Dr. Voss reported, her voice tight with concentration. Ready to discharge on your command. Chen's eyes gleamed. Send it through. Let's give the Zarkonians a taste of their own medicine. The Defiant shuddered as an immense wave of energy, the same destructive force the Eternal Dominion had unleashed moments ago, poured from the human flagship into the wormhole. The portal flared brilliantly, then collapsed. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, at the heart of the Zarkonian fleet, a new sun was born. The redirected energy erupted from another wormhole, catching the alien armada completely off guard. Ships nearest to the blast simply ceased to exist, vaporized in an instant. Others were flung aside like toys, their supposedly invincible hulls cracking under the strain. On the bridge of the Defiant, the crew watched in awe as their plan unfolded. Lieutenant Okafor's voice cut through the stunned silence. Admiral, we've destroyed or disabled nearly a third of their fleet in that single strike. Chen allowed herself a moment of satisfaction before refocusing. Excellent work, everyone. But this battle is far from over. The Zarkonians still outnumber us. Prepare for their counterattack. Aboard the Eternal Dominion, which had barely survived the blast thanks to its size and advanced shielding, Zexlor struggled to comprehend what had just happened. How? He growled. How can these primitives possess such power? His tactical officer, visibly shaken, responded, High Commander, it appears they turned our own weapon against us. Somehow, they absorbed the energy from our initial blast and redirected it. Zexlor's rage was palpable. Impossible. No species we've encountered has ever. He trailed off, a new emotion creeping into his voice. Fear. Back on the Defiant, Raj Patel's urgent voice cut through the moment of victory. Admiral, the Zarkonians are regrouping. They're adapting their tactics, spreading out to prevent another concentrated strike. Chen nodded grimly. As expected, they won't underestimate us again. Lieutenant Commander, initiate Phase 3. Let's show them what else humanity has up its sleeve. Across the human fleet, a new system hummed to life. Sleek pods detached from the larger ships, each housing a breakthrough in human AI technology. These autonomous combat units, piloted by artificial intelligences more advanced than anything the Zarkonians had encountered, swarmed towards the alien fleet. Ghost Squadron deployed, Paddle reported. AI pilots are engaging the enemy. The space between the two fleets became a dazzling display of maneuvering and firepower. The AI-piloted ghost fighters darted between the lumbering Zarkonian ships with impossible speed and precision, their weapon strikes surgically precise. On the Eternal Dominion, Zexlor watched with growing horror as his fleet was picked apart by enemies they could barely track, let alone hit. What manner of pilots are these? He demanded. They're not pilots, High Commander, his science officer replied, mandibles quivering. At least, not living ones. These are artificial constructs, machine intelligences of incredible sophistication. Zexlor's compound eyes narrowed. The humans entrust their defense to machines. This is the act of cowards. But even as he spoke, the tide of battle continued to turn. The Ghost Squadron, immune to fear or fatigue, coordinated their attacks with inhuman efficiency, exploiting every weakness in the Zarkonian defenses. Admiral Chen watched the battle unfold, her mind already racing ahead to the next phase. Dr. Voss, status on the quantum sink. Recharging, Admiral, Voss replied. We'll be ready for another major energy redirect in approximately 10 minutes. Chen nodded. Good. We may only get one more shot at this. Make it count. She turned to address the entire bridge crew. The Zarkonians are on the back foot, but they're far from defeated. They've conquered countless worlds, subjugated entire species. They won't go down without a fight. As if to underscore her words, the Zarkonian fleet began a new maneuver. The surviving ships formed into tight clusters, combining their shields to create impenetrable defensive bubbles. Clever, Chen murmured. They're adapting, learning. This is why we can't rely on any single advantage. She keyed the fleet-wide comm. All ships, initiate Protocol Hydra. Ghost Squadron, begin Phase 2 of your attack routines. Across the battlefield, the human fleet's formation shifted. Ships that had been operating independently now moved in pairs and trios, complementing each other's strengths and covering their weaknesses. The Ghost Fighters, meanwhile, began a new pattern of attack, focusing their efforts on the edges of the Zarkonian shield bubbles, probing for weaknesses. In the Defiant's engine room, Chief Engineer Tanaka worked feverishly, pushing the ship's systems to their limits and beyond. Admiral, she called over the comm, I'm rerouting auxiliary power to the shields and weapons. It'll give us a boost, but I can't guarantee how long it'll hold. Understood, Chief, Chen replied. We'll make every second count. As the battle raged on, it became clear that this was unlike anything the Zarkonians had ever faced. Every time they adapted their tactics, the humans had a counter-move ready. Every advantage they thought they had was met with an unexpected human innovation. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, Zexlor's confident demeanor had entirely evaporated. How? He chittered, more to himself than to his officers. How can these humans, these insignificant creatures we thought to swat aside, be defeating us? His tactical officer, bruised from a recent impact, spoke up hesitantly. High Commander, I believe we underestimated them. Their technology, their tactics, they're unlike anything in our records. It's as if they knew we were coming, as if they've been preparing for this very moment. Zexlor's eyes narrowed as the implications set in. Had the humans known about the Zarkonians all along? Had every world they'd conquered, every species they'd subjugated, been feeding intelligence back to Earth? The thought was almost too terrible to contemplate. As the Zarkonian leader grappled with this paradigm shift, Admiral Chen prepared for the next phase of the battle. The quantum sink was almost recharged, the Ghost Squadron was inflicting serious damage, and the human fleet was holding its own against a numerically superior force. But Chen knew better than to get overconfident. The Zarkonians were wounded, yes, but a wounded predator was often the most dangerous. The next few moments would determine not just the outcome of this battle, but potentially the fate of humanity and the entire galaxy. All hands, she called out, her voice carrying to every human ship and fighter, prepare for maximum effort. The Zarkonians are on the ropes, but this fight is far from over. Remember what we're fighting for, not just our own survival, but the freedom of every species that would fall under Zarkonian tyranny. We are humanity's shield and humanity's sword. Let's finish this. As her words echoed across the fleet, humans and AIs alike steeled themselves for the next phase of the battle. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath as two civilizations, two philosophies, clashed in the void of space. The Zarkonians had come expecting an easy conquest. What they got instead was humanity, in all its innovative, adaptable, unstoppable glory. The battle for Earth, and for the future of the galaxy, was about to enter its most crucial phase. Turning the tide. The void of space, once serene, now pulsed with the frenetic energy of battle. Debris from destroyed ships, both human and Zarkonian, drifted silently amidst the chaos. The initial shock of humanity's resistance had worn off, and now the true test of will and strategy began. Admiral Sarah Chen's voice cut through the tension on the Defiance Bridge. Status report. Lieutenant Commander Raj Patel's fingers danced across his console. The Zarkonians are regrouping, Admiral. They're forming a spearhead formation. Looks like they're preparing for a concentrated push. Chen's eyes narrowed. They're hoping to overwhelm us with sheer firepower. Not if I can help it. Dr. Voss, is the quantum sink ready? Dr. Ilara Voss nodded, her face illuminated by the glow of her workstation. Charged and ready, Admiral. But we should use it judiciously. The system wasn't designed for repeated use in such a short time frame. Understood. We'll make it count. Chen turned to her tactical officer. Lieutenant Okafor, coordinate with Ghost Squadron. I want those AI fighters harassing the edges of their formation. Let's disrupt their attack before it begins. As orders flew across the human fleet, the Zarkonians launched their assault. A wall of energy weapons fire erupted from their ships, a dazzling and terrifying display of alien might. Brace for impact, Chen shouted. The human fleet's shields flared brilliantly as they absorbed the brunt of the attack. On the Defiant, the crew held on as the ship shuddered under the onslaught. Shields holding at 68%. Admiral, reported Chief Engineer Tanaka. Her voice. Chen felt each loss like a physical blow, but she forced herself to remain focused. This is it, people. The moment we've prepared for. Dr. Voss, ready the quantum sink. Tanaka, I need everything you can give me for the engines and shields. Patel, signal Ghost Squadron to fall back and regroup. As the crew rushed to comply, Chen opened a fleet-wide channel. To all ships and personnel of the United Earth Defense Force. The Zarkonians have thrown everything they have at us, and we're still standing. But now it's our turn to show them the full might of humanity." She paused, her words carrying the weight of countless lives, both those fighting alongside her and the billions back on Earth depending on them. Since our species first looked up at the stars, we've dreamed of this moment. We've faced extinction-level threats before, ice ages, plagues, our own destructive tendencies. But we've always emerged stronger. Today, we face our greatest challenge yet, but we do so united. Every nation, every culture on Earth contributed to the technology and strategies we're using today. Across the fleet, humans of all backgrounds listened, drawing strength from their admiral's words. The Zarkonians thought us weak, thought our diversity was a weakness, but it's our greatest strength, our different perspectives, our varied approaches to problem-solving. That's what allowed us to create the Quantum Sync, the Ghost Squadron as, the nanobot warheads. Humanity doesn't just adapt. We thrive on challenge. Chen's voice grew fiercer, filled with pride and determination. So let's show these would-be conquerors exactly what humanity is capable of. For Earth, for every species that has fallen to the Zarkonians, and for every world that would be next if we fail here. Let's end this. A chorus of cheers erupted across the human fleet. Even the AI of Ghost Squadrons seemed to fight with renewed vigor, their maneuvers becoming even more precise and deadly. "Quantum Sync at full capacity," Dr. Voss reported. Chen nodded. "Execute Operation Sunforge." The Defiant's engines flared as it drove straight towards the heart of the Zarkonian fleet. The alien ships, caught off guard by this seemingly suicidal charge, scrambled to respond. "They're taking the bait," Paddle said. "The Eternal Dominion is powering up its main weapon." "Perfect," Chen smiled. "Stand by to activate the Quantum Sync on my mark." The space between the fleets lit up as the Zarkonians unleashed their full firepower, determined to stop the Defiant's charge. But the human flagship pushed through, its advanced shields straining but holding. At the last possible moment, Chen gave the order. "Now." The Quantum Sync sprang to life just as the Eternal Dominion fired its planet-killer weapon. But instead of destruction, the massive energy beam was absorbed, drawn into the swirling vortex of the human device. "Energy absorption successful," Dr. Voss called out, her voice filled with awe. "Power levels they're off the charts." Chen's eyes gleamed. "Redirect all of it. Every last joule. Let's give the Zarkonians a taste of their own medicine." The Defiant shuddered as it channeled the enormous energy through its systems. For a moment, the human ship glowed like a newborn star. Then, with a flash that outshone suns, it released the accumulated power in a single concentrated burst. The blast caught the Zarkonian fleet at its center. Ships simply ceased to exist, vaporized in an instant. Others, further from the epicenter, spun out of control, their systems overloaded by the massive energy wave. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, alarms blared as systems failed catastrophically. Zexlor, for the first time in his long life, felt true fear grip his alien heart. What are these humans?" he whispered. The devastating strike marked a turning point in the battle. The once mighty Zarkonian armada was in disarray, more than half their ships destroyed or disabled. The human fleet, though bloodied, pressed their advantage with relentless determination. Ghost Squadron harried the remaining alien ships, exploiting every weakness. The nanobot warheads continued their work, breaking down Zarkonian technology at the molecular level. And at the heart of it all, the Defiant stood firm, a symbol of humanity's indomitable will. As the battle entered its final stages, Chen allowed herself a moment of reflection. The cost had been high. Too many good people had been lost. But humanity had faced its greatest threat and emerged victorious. And in doing so, they had changed the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The Zarkonians had come expecting an easy conquest. What they found instead was a species that refused to go quietly, that fought with innovation, determination, and a fierce unity of purpose. They had laughed at the human fleet, But that laughter had turned to fear, respect, and ultimately, defeat. As the remaining Zarkonian ships began to retreat, Chen knew that this was more than just a victory in battle. It was the dawn of a new era for humanity, one where they would take their place among the stars not as conquerors, but as defenders of freedom and justice throughout the galaxy. The battle was won, but the true challenge, and humanity's greatest adventure, was just beginning. The alien perspective. In the smoldering wreckage of what was once the mightiest fleet in the known galaxy, High Commander Zexlor of the Zarkonian Empire struggled to comprehend the magnitude of their defeat. Warning klaxons blared throughout the Eternal Dominion, the flagship's once impenetrable hull now scared and breached in multiple locations. Status report, Zexlor rasped, his usual imperious tone replaced by one of disbelief and barely contained panic. His tactical officer, Sub-Commander Vexna, looked up from her console, her compound eyes flickering with a mixture of fear and awe. High Commander, we've lost 68% of our fleet. Another 15% are critically damaged and unable to continue fighting. Our remaining ships are in disarray. And she hesitated, mandibles clicking nervously. Speak, Vexna, Zexlor snapped. The humans are pressing their advantage. Their ships are moving to surround us, cutting off our retreat vectors. Zexlor's exoskeleton seemed to shrink, the weight of their impending doom settling upon him. In all his cycles of conquest, spanning hundreds of worlds across dozens of star systems, he had never encountered a species like the humans. The Zarkonians had always been the apex predators of the galaxy, their technology and tactical prowess unmatched. Until now. How? Zexlor murmured, more to himself than to his bridge crew. How did these primitives defeat us? The science officer, Riltex, stepped forward, his slender form trembling slightly but his voice steady. High Commander, I believe I have some insights based on the data we've collected during the battle. Zexlor waved a clawed appendage, granting permission to continue. Riltex activated a holographic display, showing various schematics and battle footage. The humans demonstrated several technological capabilities that were unexpected. Their quantum sync device, for instance, operates on principles we thought were merely theoretical. They've somehow mastered the ability to absorb and redirect massive amounts of energy. The display shifted, showing the swarm-like movements of the Ghost Squadron. Their artificial intelligences are far more advanced than we anticipated. The level of coordination and adaptability they've shown is unprecedented. Zexlor chittered in frustration. But how? Our intelligence suggested they were centuries behind us technologically. That's just it, High Commander, Riltex continued. I don't believe they were. My analysis suggests that the humans have been aware of our presence, and likely our intentions for some time. They'd been preparing for this confrontation, developing technologies specifically to counter our strengths. The implications of this statement hung heavy in the air. The Zarkonians had always relied on the element of surprise, striking at unsuspecting civilizations before they could mount an effective defense. The idea that a species had not only anticipated their attack, but had spent years preparing for it was unsettling. Sub-Commander Vexna spoke up, her tactical mind racing. It's not just their technology, High Commander. Their tactics, their strategies, they're unlike anything we've encountered. They fight with a ferocity and adaptability that's almost admirable. Zexlor turned to glare at her, but found he couldn't summon the usual rage at such a statement. Instead, he felt a grudging respect beginning to form. These humans had done the impossible. They had beaten the unbeatable Zarkonian armada. A violent tremor shook the ship, nearly knocking the alien leaders off their feet. What was that? Zexlor demanded. Vexna quickly checked her readings. The humans have breached our outer defenses. They're boarding us, High Commander. For the first time in his long life, Zexlor felt true fear. Not just for himself, but for the future of his entire species. The Zarkonians had always been the aggressors, the conquerors. They had no protocols for surrender, no concept of defeat. Yet here they were, facing annihilation at the hands of a species they had dismissed as insignificant. "Show me," he ordered. The main view screen flickered to life, displaying multiple feeds from throughout the ship. Zexlor watched in a mixture of horror and fascination as human soldiers in advanced combat suits breached airlocks and fought their way through corridors. Their movements were precise, coordinated, displaying a level of training and discipline that rivaled the Zarkonians' own elite forces. But it wasn't just their combat prowess that caught Zexlor's attention. He noticed how the humans moved in mixed teams, some providing covering fire, while others worked on bypassing security systems or treating wounded comrades. They fought not as individuals seeking glory, but as a cohesive unit with a shared purpose. "Fascinating," Riltex murmured, his scientific curiosity momentarily overriding his fear. "Look at how they adapt to our internal defenses. It's as if they're learning in real time." Another explosion rocked the ship. "High Commander," Vexna reported, her voice tight with tension. "They've reached the main engine room. Our propulsion systems are offline. We're dead in space." Zexlor's mind raced. Everything he had ever known, every assumption about his species' superiority, was crumbling around him. Yet in the face of certain defeat, he found himself filled with an unfamiliar emotion: respect. "Open a channel to the human flagship," he ordered. His communication officer looked at him in shock. "High Commander." "Do it," Zexlor insisted. "It's time we addressed our adversaries directly." Moments later, the stern face of Admiral Sarah Chen appeared on the view screen. Her eyes were hard, but there was no gloating in her expression, no cruel enjoyment of her victory, just a steadfast determination that Zexlor found he could appreciate. "This is High Commander Zexlor of the Zarkonian Empire," he began, forcing his voice to remain steady. "Human Admiral, you have fought with valor and ingenuity beyond anything we have encountered in our long history of conquest. I wish to discuss terms." A flicker of surprise crossed Chen's face, quickly replaced by cautious neutrality. "You wish to surrender, High Commander." The word felt alien to Zexlor, but he forced himself to say it. "Yes, we surrender." As the word left his mandibles, Zexlor felt a profound shift, not just in the immediate situation, but in his entire worldview. The Zarkonians had always seen the galaxy as their rightful domain, other species as little more than resources to be exploited or obstacles to be removed. But these humans, they had shown that there was another way. A way of innovation, of adaptation, of unity in diversity. "We will cease all hostilities," Zexlor continued. "In return, I ask only that you spare the lives of my crew. They followed my orders, and the responsibility for this invasion is mine alone." Admiral Chen studied him for a long moment before responding. "We accept your surrender, High Commander. Prepare to be boarded. My teams will oversee the shutdown of your weapons systems and the evacuation of your crew." As the communication ended, Zexlor turned to face his bridge crew. He saw in their eyes the same mixture of fear, confusion, and dawning realization that he felt. Their world had changed irrevocably. "Orders, High Commander," Vexna asked hesitantly. Zexlor straightened, feeling the weight of history on his carapace. "We comply with the humans' terms, and we learn. It's clear our understanding of the galaxy and our place in it has been woefully incomplete. These humans have much to teach us, if we are wise enough to listen." As the sounds of approaching human boarding parties echoed through the ship, Zexlor found himself filled with an unfamiliar sensation. It wasn't the thrill of conquest or the security of technological superiority. It was something new, something the Zarkonians had never truly experienced before. It was hope. Hope for a future where strength came not from domination, but from cooperation. Hope for a galaxy where diversity was a source of strength, not a weakness to be eliminated. The Zarkonians had come to conquer. Instead, they had been humbled, defeated, and in the process, given a priceless gift: the opportunity to grow, to change, to become something more than they had ever imagined possible. As the first human soldiers entered the bridge, Zexlor stepped forward, ready to face this new future. The Zarkonian Empire as they had known it was over. But perhaps, just perhaps, something greater could rise from its ashes. Humanity triumphant. The vast chamber of the United Galactic Council buzzed with an energy unlike anything seen in its long history. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the tiered seating, their varied forms a testament to the diversity of life in the cosmos. But today, all eyes were focused on the central podium where Admiral Sarah Chen stood, her crisp uniform a stark contrast to the colorful array of alien dignitaries. Distinguished representatives of the galaxy, Chen began, her voice carrying easily through the chamber. I stand before you today, not just as an envoy of Earth, but as a voice for all those who have suffered under the tyranny of the Zarkonian Empire. A murmur rippled through the audience. Many of the species present had either experienced Zarkonian aggression firsthand or lived in fear of it for generations. 3 standard galactic months ago, humanity faced its greatest challenge. The Zarkonian armada, which had subjugated countless worlds, set its sights on Earth. They expected an easy conquest. What they found instead was a united human race, prepared and determined to defend not just our world, but to break the cycle of Zarkonian oppression once and for all. Chen paused, allowing her words to sink in. The chamber was silent now, all attention riveted on her. We fought not just with advanced technology, but with the indomitable spirit that has defined humanity throughout our history. We faced extinction and emerged victorious, not through brute force, but through innovation, adaptability, and an unwavering commitment to our shared values. Holographic displays sprang to life around the chamber, showing footage from the battle. The assembled aliens watched in awe as the seemingly outmatched human fleet stood against the Zarkonian armada, employing strategies and technologies that defied conventional galactic wisdom. But our victory was not an end. Chen continued, her voice growing stronger. It was a beginning of a new era of cooperation and mutual understanding in our galaxy. The displays shifted, now showing images of human ships providing aid to worlds devastated by Zarkonian occupation, of joint scientific endeavors between humans and other species, of cultural exchanges spreading across the stars. In the aftermath of our victory, we could have chosen isolation or retribution. Instead, we extended a hand of friendship, not just to our allies, but even to our former enemies. The Zarkonians, under new leadership, have begun the long process of making amends for their past actions. A ripple of surprise went through the chamber at this. The idea of the Zarkonians as anything other than conquerors was revolutionary. We've shared our quantum sync technology with worlds whose environments were damaged by Zarkonian strip mining, allowing them to begin the process of ecological restoration. Our AI research is being adapted to help species whose civilizations were set back centuries by Zarkonian occupation. And yes, we're even working with reformed elements within Zarkonian society, helping them rebuild their culture around cooperation rather than conquest. Chen's eyes swept the chamber, meeting the gazes of various alien representatives. But we haven't done this alone. In the short time since the battle for Earth, we've formed alliances and friendships with many of you. The Arachnid Collective's bioengineering expertise has been instrumental in healing worlds scared by war. The Cetacean Confederation's mastery of aquatic ecosystems has opened new frontiers in planetary restoration. The Silicon Consciousness has helped us push the boundaries of AI ethics and integration. She smiled, a gesture that many of the aliens had come to recognize as a sign of warmth and sincerity. This is the power of diversity, of different perspectives coming together to solve problems that no single species could tackle alone. This is the future we envision. A galaxy united not by force or fear, but by mutual respect and a shared commitment to progress. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of alien vocalizations, tentacles waving, bioluminescent patterns flashing in what humans had learned to recognize as applause and approval. Chen raised her hand, and gradually the chamber quieted. But our work is far from over. There are still worlds suffering from the aftermath of Zarkonian occupation. There are species whose development was stunted by fear of alien invasion. And there are new challenges on the horizon that will require all of our combined efforts to overcome. Her voice took on a tone of steel determination. That is why I stand before you today with a proposal. A proposal for a new galactic alliance, not one dominated by any single species or ideology, but a true cooperative effort. An alliance dedicated to mutual defense, scientific advancement, cultural exchange, and the promotion of freedom and self-determination for all sentient beings. The chamber buzzed with excitement. This was more than just a victory speech. It was a vision for a transformed galaxy. We call this initiative the Cosmic Concordat, Chen announced. Earth is prepared to share all of our technological advancements, our scientific knowledge, and our unique human perspective. But more importantly, we're eager to learn from all of you. Our victory over the Zarkonians showed us the strength we have when united. Imagine what we could accomplish if we extend that unity across the stars. As Chen spoke, more holographic displays appeared, showing the proposed structure of the Concordat. It was clear that a great deal of thought had gone into ensuring equitable representation and decision-making power for all member species. We do not seek to replace one empire with another, Chen assured the assembly. The Cosmic Concordat will be a voluntary association of equals. Each member world will maintain its sovereignty while contributing to our shared goals. Together, we can usher in an unprecedented era of peace, discovery, and progress. She paused, looking out over the sea of alien faces. I know that for many of you, the idea of trusting other species, of opening yourselves to the galaxy, is frightening. The shadow of Zarkonian aggression has loomed large for too long. But I ask you to look at what we've already accomplished in the short time since their defeat. Look at the world's already healing, the scientific breakthroughs we've achieved together, the cultural renaissance spreading across the stars. Chen's voice softened, filled with passion and hope. This is our moment, a moment to leave behind millennia of conflict and isolation, a moment to reach out to one another and build something greater than any of us could achieve alone. Humanity extends its hand in friendship to all peaceful species. Will you join us in shaping the future of our galaxy? The chamber erupted once more, but this time it wasn't just approval. It was excitement, hope, and a burning desire to be part of this new vision. Species that had been bitter enemies now turned to one another with new eyes, seeing potential allies where once they saw only threats. As the council moved to begin formal discussions on the formation of the Cosmic Concordat, Chen stepped back from the podium, allowing herself a moment of reflection. The road ahead would not be easy. There would be challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But as she looked out at the diverse array of beings coming together with shared purpose, she felt a profound sense of optimism. Humanity had faced its greatest trial and emerged not just victorious, but transformed. They had gone from a species on the brink of annihilation to the architects of a new galactic order. It was a heavy responsibility, but one that Chen knew her people were ready to bear. The battle against the Zarkonians had proven humanity's strength, ingenuity, and indomitable spirit. Now, in peace, they would prove something even greater: their capacity for compassion, for innovation, and for bringing out the best in others. As the first votes were cast in favor of forming the Cosmic Concordat, Chen smiled. The Zarkonians had laughed at the human fleet, seeing only a primitive species ripe for conquest. Instead, they had become the catalyst for a new age of galactic cooperation and advancement. Humanity had not just survived. They had thrived, and in doing so, they had changed the course of cosmic history. The stars, once a source of fear and isolation for so many species, now beckoned with the promise of a brighter future for all. The age of conquest was over. The age of exploration, cooperation, and shared destiny had begun. And humanity, once alone on its small blue world, now stood at the forefront of this grand cosmic adventure.